The evening of June 4th, 1968, the evening of the South Dakota Democratic primary for president. On KSOO television that night, Ray Loftusness interviewing Robert Kennedy's state campaign chair, William Doherty.
Bill, I know that you'd like to tell the nation how you feel at this hour from South Dakota.
Real good, Ray. We beat Vice President Humphrey in his own home state.
Wallace, South Dakota native Vice President Hubert Humphrey was in the race that year, and so was former U.S. Attorney General and New York Senator Robert Kennedy.
This is Howard K. Smith at ABC's election headquarters.
Howard K. Smith was on the air late that night, waiting for the results of the California primary, which also showed a win for Robert Kennedy. At about 2:15 Central Time on the morning of June 5th, Kennedy spoke to a nationwide audience about his big wins out west and right here at home.
The vote here in the state of California, the vote in the state of South Dakota. Here is the most urban state of any of the states of our union. South Dakota, the most rural state of any of the states of our union. We're able to win them both. I think that we can end the divisions within the United States.
And among the millions keeping an eye on the Kennedy campaign, his fellow Senator, Walter Mondale of Minnesota.
We were seatmates. We served on the same committees. We were about the same age. We were both progressives. We were dear friends.
Mondale arrived at the United States Senate just 4 days before Kennedy. They were of a similar age, with similar views of politics' role in society. And the Kennedy presidential campaign was gaining speed.
We are a great country, and a selfish country, and a compassionate country. And I intend to make that my basis for running and over the period of the next few months.
Bobby was a progressive. He'd spent a lot of his life trying to right wrongs that were around, and we needed that voice. And he was cut down in mid-career.
No one who was watching on that night 50 years ago knew that Bobby Kennedy's final words in the ballroom of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles would be the final words he would ever publicly say.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Bobby Kennedy left the ballroom, and ABC News was ready to wrap up its coverage for the night.
Race to the White House, the California primary, a special report from ABC News.
We've been cheated twice now with the murder of the president, the murder of Bobby Kennedy. And I can't tell you what it took out of public life, but it took a lot, because we needed their leadership.
But as soon as ABC News signed off, they were back on the air. And for 4.5 minutes, viewers nationwide saw this shot, unsure of what was happening. Notice on the right side of your screen, newsroom workers gathering together as if they're discussing something. And on the left side of the screen, Howard K. Smith scrambling to put his earpiece back in and his microphone back on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've kept the air on because we've heard an alarming report that Robert Kennedy was shot in that ballroom at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles.
ABC cameramen at the Ambassador had recorded the sounds of eyewitnesses screaming and the sound of gunfire. Walter Mondale was left with the sickening realization that it had happened again. John Kennedy 4.5 years earlier, Martin Luther King just 9 weeks earlier, and now Bobby Kennedy.
The idea that this great country, this wonderful country, cannot protect its key leaders from being executed is an awful, awful realization.
Robert Kennedy was taken to a Los Angeles area hospital. He had been shot 3 times. 1 bullet grazed his forehead. The second lodged into his neck. But it was that third shot, behind his right ear, that burrowed into his brain. And it is that shot that would eventually claim his life, leaving all to wonder if Bobby Kennedy would have been elected president, and if so, what kind of president would he have been?
That he would be a good man, that he would be a progressive, that he would push for the things he always believed in. That's a given. Would he been a transformative president? I don't know.
Bobby Kennedy survived for 25 hours after winning the California and South Dakota primaries.
Senator Robert Francis Kennedy died at 1:44 a.m. today, June 6, 1968. He was 42 years old.